Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time here. I'm Kylie, I've been drawing for a few years now, and my goal is to ultimately become a concept and or viz dev artist in the entertainment industry. Today, I'm working on a drawing from one of my personal projects called Broken Kingdom. It's one that's been floating around for quite some time. Shout out if any of you guys remember this character's original designs, because she has definitely come a long way. So what is Broken Kingdom and who is this character? Broken Kingdom is about a team of rebels who are fighting against an unjust rule, and along the way they discover quite a few things about their kingdom's history and themselves. The character is Izume, one of the main characters in the story. Her world was always meant to be a mix of sci-fi and fantasy, but honestly, when I first started drawing her, my skills were rudimentary at best. Back then, I was mostly drawing what felt easy and comfortable, and now, I'm still doing that, but we've definitely grown a lot since our early high school days. Redrawing this is pretty important to me. Her previous design still wasn't quite what I wanted, and I had to rush it quite a bit, but I think we're finally getting closer to the version I've always envisioned. So why was she rushed? Let's rewind 5 years. I may be an engineering student now, but I wasn't always. I'm actually an art school dropout. I did 1 year of school in Oregon, and that's when COVID hit. Life got complicated fast, and I ended up moving from Oregon to Alaska to Virginia within about a 3-month period. It was rough, like straight up sucked, and it wasn't the moving, I'm used to that. As I've mentioned on this channel before, I'm a military brat. Moving a shit ton has never been an issue. How can it be if you've done it every 3 years for your entire life? But being isolated like that and having to move to a whole new state, I felt hard to find, if that makes sense. I didn't even really feel like I knew myself at that point, which led me to make the choice not to go back to art school, at least not to the one in Oregon, for a few reasons: personal issues, moving across the country again, cost, and the very beginnings of burnout. I started questioning myself a lot in this time period, and being so solitary didn't help. With all the COVID regulations, it wasn't like I could just go out and meet people. Like many that year, regardless of living with my family, I felt alone. Around the end of that year, I decided to try to go back to school, and I didn't realize one of the schools I wanted to apply to had a deadline coming up, and it was coming up fast. In a rush to make it to the finish line, I stayed up for 3 days straight, barely slept for more than 2 hours a night for 2 weeks, and unfortunately overdosed on caffeine. It's a common problem for people with undiagnosed ADHD, which I didn't realize I had at the time. And that was it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Izume's final turnaround ended up being one of the last pieces I finished before I unintentionally overdosed on caffeine. It was a wake-up call, and honestly, I've hated looking at that artwork ever since. But now that I'm in a better place mentally, I feel ready to revisit it. I have to admit, I still care for the original thumbnails, especially the ones that showcased her long, flowing hair. It's a pretty integral part of her character design, so I wanted to stay true to that. Everything else, though, fair game. I wanted it to be completely undeniable that this character was part of a sci-fi setting. So I started diving into more media and expanding the horizon of what I wanted to draw inspiration from. Way back in the day, and this might sound kind of hilarious since I've always been adamant Broken Kingdom takes place in a sci-fi and fantasy setting, the only things I was really taking inspiration from was Assassin's Creed, which arguably isn't sci-fi, and a lot of Hayao Natsu speed paints, which again, arguably isn't very sci-fi. Today, we now look at Cyberpunk, Warhammer, Halo, and a few random scattered franchises and artists. Let me know if you guys see anything specific in her design that calls back to any of those, or anything else y'all might think I pulled from. But, getting back to it, I was really drawn to the augmentics in Cyberpunk and Warhammer. You'll see some of the shapes on her skin is a direct call out to the ports Space Marines have all over their bodies to connect to their armor. Halo's shape language also played a big role, especially on her legs and knees, and the shoes. I know they might look a little goofy, but they're just a touch of me. I love chunky shoes. Right now, I'm really loving the new pose she's in, the rendering, and the overall vibe. We're definitely starting to catch that sci-fi element I wanted and, characterizing her correctly, but there's still some things I'm unhappy with, so over time, we're gonna fix stuff. One thing that's really been pissing me off is the angle of her ribcage. Someone pointed that out to me when I was already pretty late in the drawing, so it's unfortunately too late to fix it, but it's not something that I can't learn from for the future. The rendering, I've got to admit, I think is the best I've done to date. I've been doing I've been doing Mark Burnett's art school program, and his methods and teaching, I feel at least, have really helped me to improve since December when I started picking up speed on art again. So yeah, as the kids say, this is a gamer moment. Fellas, this is editing Kylie now. So I have not actually watched a speed paint in a couple weeks because I finished it forever and a half ago. And you guys know me and my chaotic schedules. I'm just now getting around to like editing and all that stuff. But I didn't realize that I changed her design so much from the initial sketch. So everything that I've been saying about being proud of her design and all that is what's happening on screen, like, as we speak. Because initially I was like, you know, I'm gonna try to stick as close to the original design as I can, and then the longer that I worked on it, I was like, man, this is so flat and boring. So that's when I started like actually looking into all the franchises that I was talking about and pulling inspiration for shape design, the way that the values are spread out, like all that stuff. So yeah, just keep that in mind looking at it. Now is when it starts to get cool, because the first like 5 minutes of the speed paint, the drawing kind of looks like dog shit, I ain't gonna lie. But yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying it regardless. So I'm gonna close out the talking portion here. The speed paint still has like roughly 7 to 8 minutes to go if you guys want to stick around for that. But, you know, to see all the rendering and the coloring and how I went about going from grayscale to color and stuff. But, yeah, revisiting this piece has felt like a full circle moment. From burnout and uncertainty to now slowly finding my footing again. It's wild how art reflects that journey. So thank you guys for being here and letting me share that with you. If you've got any thoughts or want to share your own art journey, I would love to hear about it in the comments. And of course, if you want to stick around for more Broken Kingdom stuff or just more chaotic art process rambles, feel free to subscribe. I might interject here and there again to explain some of the stuff that I'm doing, but I don't think I'm going to. We'll see. Well, we'll see, because so the way that I edit is, you guys don't care about this. Anyway, I'm ADHD as shit, so, and yeah, yippee!